Meeting.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the August 2nd, 2017 meeting of the Frederick County Planning Commission. Would you join us in a moment of silence, please? Thank you. We have an agenda to adopt. There are no changes.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Let's see, we've got minutes from May 3rd.
Move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're up to committee reports. Mr. Bone, would you like to
Sure.
report?
Yeah, Madam Chair, the Comp Plan Committee did meet in July. We considered the CPPA application number 0117 for Sandy's MHC LLC and Virginia Investment Properties LLC. This item's on our agenda this evening for discussion. The committee did recommend that the application be considered for further study by the PC and the board, but with the caveat that it applied to a larger study area for potential inclusion in the sewer and water service area. But that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Unger, you've got the sanitation authority. Oh, Frederick Water, excuse me.
There you go. I was going to mention that Frederick County Sanitation, well, I'm sorry, we met July the 18th. Frederick County Sanitation Department has renamed themselves to Frederick Waters, and the reason behind that is because we're going to start producing a lot of our own water in the county from wells and creeks and different things. So they decided that would be the best thing to do. Seemed like it was pretty acceptable to everybody, so that's what they're doing. One of the things they talked about is they're planning on starting the new water treatment plant, which is about a $20 million operation to start with. And two milestones they're going to have with that is December 31st by 2018. They're supposed to have the first phase of that treatment plant completed to where they won't have to be buying water at the Anderson plant. And by the following year, December 31st, they're hoping that we won't have to be buying water from Carmoose or the city of Winchester if everything works well. So we will be producing our own water at that time, hopefully. And they are putting the new water treatment plant right down the road from where the ball fields are now. They purchased some land down there. I think it's 80 acres or so. And we're going to also put new ball fields down there because they've been asked to, that they're going to have to get out of there because they're going to start quarrying it soon. So we are going to put the athletic fields down there also. And we have on our customer base right now, we have 15,250 people on the water. Sanitation has 14,756. Rainfall for last month was 1.5 inches, which previous month was a little over 8, which was real good for May. The Deal plant's producing about 2.3 million gallons per day. The Anderson plant's producing about 1.2 million gallons per day. We're purchasing about 2 million gallons off of the city of Winchester per day. Our average is almost 6.5 million gallons per day that we're producing or using. And that's all we have for sanitation.
Thank you. Would you like to move on to
Yes, ma'am.
URC, please? Yeah.
We met July 27th for Development Review and Regulation Committee. And I'm not going to get real into this. What we're talking about is residential separation buffers from different things, houses to townhouses, townhouses to apartments. And we've been working on this for a good while, for a couple meetings, and we're going to go back and work on it again. Staff is going to put together some things they think might work, and we're going to review them again. But at this point, we have a good bit of land some land in the county that was never used when they done other developments, and now we're debating whether to do double shrubs and stuff against each other, possibly reducing the amount of setback we're going to use, and we're going to continue to work on that for a while.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think that's all of the reports for the county. We are pleased to have Kelly Wolf from the city. If you'll address us, please.
Hello, I have nothing new to report this week.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll move right on to Mr. Blaine Dunn of the Board of Supervisors.
Unfortunately, I do have some things to report.
Okay.
So, since this last meeting, the Board of Supervisors has taken a number of actions. The first was the conveyance of certain property and ordinances regarding the Sulphur Springs Road in Shawnee District. There were 5 of them. They included the Virginia Department of Transportation a fee simple interest of about 0.21 acres, to Rappahannock Electric a permanent utility easement of approximately 0.126 acres, to Verizon a permanent utility easement of approximately 1.26 acres, to the Virginia Department of Transportation a fee simple interest of 1.019 acres, and to Verizon a utility easement of 0.489 acres. These all are dealing with improvement along Sulphur Spring roads. The next item was a decision by the Board of Supervisors to agree to a proposed abandonment of a public road, Security Drive, which is near the Navy Federal Credit Union. And then after that abandonment, there was a proposed conveyance to the Navy Federal Credit Union of approximately 0.57 acres, dealing with the abandoned right-of-way. The board also approved a rezoning to Rutherford Crossing, moving 22.16 acres from M1 Light Industrial to B2 General Business. They approved a change in the ordinance on the county code to allow a conditional use permit for medical offices in a residential area, in the RP area. They also listened to a withdrawal for a request to allow the transfer of development rights in Middletown. That request was withdrawn at this point in time. And the board approved for a public hearing a discussion on slaughterhouses as a conditional use permit in the rural area. That's all I have, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. This is the time, if there are any citizens who would like to speak to us regarding something that is not on our agenda, we would be delighted to hear from you. Well, seeing none, we will close the citizen comment portion. Our first item is a public hearing. It's an ordinance amendment to the Frederick County Code, Chapter 165, zoning, Article 1, General Provisions, Amendments, and Conditional Use Permits, Part 101, General Provisions 165-101.02, Definitions and Word Usage, Article 2, Supplementary Use Regulation, Parking, Buffers, and Regulations for Specific Uses, Part 205, Additional Regulation for Specific Uses, 165-204.17, Slaughterhouses and Rendering Plans. Article 4, Agricultural and Residential Districts, Part 401, RA Rural Areas District, 165-401.03, Conditional Uses. Mr. Klein.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission. This is a public hearing item for a proposed amendment to Chapter 165, the zoning ordinance, to allow slaughterhouses in the RA Rural Area Zoning District. Currently, the manufacturing of meat products is only allowed in our M2 Industrial General Zoning District as a by right use. Staff has drafted a revision to the zoning ordinance to include slaughterhouses as a conditional use in the RA Rural Area Zoning District. We've also provided a new definition for slaughterhouses and additional supplemental use regulations. As defined with the amendment, slaughterhouses are establishments primarily engaged in the slaughtering or processing of meats for human consumption or other related products. The word slaughterhouse, as used in this definition, shall not be construed to prohibit persons who are actually farmers from killing their own cattle, sheep, swine, goats, and fowl for their own family use. Additional supplemental use regulations for slaughterhouses would include that all buildings, animal unloading and staging areas, and animal pens shall be a minimum of 100 feet from all property lines. Total building or building square footage should not exceed 20,000 square feet. All operations must be under roof and screened from view from adjoining properties and public streets, and that additional buffering and screening may be required as specified by the zoning administrator. The Development Review and Regulations Committee discussed this amendment at their April 2017 meeting, and this item was presented for discussion by the Planning Commission in June and by the Board of Supervisors in July. Following a public hearing this evening, staff is seeking a recommendation from the Planning Commission to forward to the Board of Supervisors. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant that requested this text amendment, Brooke Middleton with DeHaven Slaughterhouses, is here this evening as well to speak in regards to the text amendment. Thank you.
Yes, any questions of Mr. Klein?
One thing that I don't see that we've addressed in the special conditions, what about disposal of any non-usable materials after the slaughterhouse? How would they handle that?
I will let the applicant speak to how that's being handled. It is handled a little bit through the health department regulations, but I'll let them speak directly to how their operation operates.
Anyone else like to speak to Mr. Klein? Thank you, sir. The applicant, would you like to approach us and give us your name and
Good evening, Madam Chairman, gentlemen of the Planning Commission. My name is Brooke Middleton. I'm here from Gentle Harvest. With me tonight is Chris Damewood, who is the Farm Operation Manager for Ayrshire Farm and Gentle Harvest. Last year we purchased the DeHaven Slaughterhouse, and we're currently using that for our own animals. And we seek to acquire a property in the county in the appropriate place according to the regulations that you would establish, and we would use that site to slaughter our own animals, and also we would offer that to the public, so we would be a benefit and a resource to the people and farmers of Frederick County. As far as your question, sir, on the disposal, I will let Chris talk about how that's done, and what there's highly regulated, I believe, isn't it?
Currently, right now, we bring all hides and offal back to our property in Upperville, where we have a pretty extensive composting operation. Also, depending on the size of this operation, too, Valley Protein would be able to be used there as well.
any other questions? Would you give us your name, please, sir?
Christopher Damewood, like
Thank
Brooke
you.
said, farm manager for Ayrshire and
Didn't hear it.
farm manager for Ayrshire and property manager for Gentle Harvest. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone on the commission like to ask a question?
Quick question.
Yes.
I guess I was surprised. I knew it was taken care of as far as the scraps were concerned. I figured it probably went to our local rendering company, but does it end up from Upperville to our local render company? Does it go somewhere else?
No, we put it back onto our fields. It goes through, I don't know, basically there's, we have a 5-acre composting pad. We put it into these static piles, which is a mixture of carbon and nitrogen, manure, straw, hay, and materials like that, where we basically the same type of process, if you're familiar with farming, that you might dispose of a culled animal or an animal that had a mortality on your property. Once it breaks down over it's basically a year-long period, then we end up spreading it back onto our hay fields and our other pastures. Once it breaks down, it's a very good source of nitrogen, and it's an important process for our farms, to be honest.
It's on an 800-acre farm, so the 5 acres is in the center, and it's not anything that's offensive to the neighbors.
Anyone else have a question for the applicant? Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
We will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment concerning this ordinance amendment? Anyone? Well, we'll close the public hearing. I do believe it's in our hands, folks. Are you satisfied, Mr. Thomas, about the?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of the new ordinance.
Second. Second.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Marston, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
Klein, yes.
Oates, yes.
Thomas, yes.
Kenny, yes.
Dunlap, yes.
Moan, yes.
And the chair votes yes. This will go to the Board of Supervisors on the 13th of September. Thank you. Okay, our next item is an information and discussion item for the commission, and it is a comp plan amendment, 01-17, Sandy's Mobile Home Community, LLC/BA Investment Properties, LLC. Urban Development Area and Sewer Water Service Area Inclusion Request Parcels 87-A-95 and 87-A-96. And we're gonna let Mrs. Perkins take it over.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the Commission. This year, during the 2007 round of the comp plan amendment application process, we received one CPPA request. This request, as you stated, consists of 2 properties located within the limits of the Southern Frederick Land Use Plan. Now, that plan was adopted back in 2014, and that plan also built upon the Route 277 Triangle Plan from 2008. I would note that the area in question, the land use, was all determined during the Triangle study. So tonight, really, this is an opportunity to go over this CPPA in advance of the upcoming work session, which will be in September. So it's an opportunity to review it and discuss it in advance of the next meeting. So as you stated, this is a request to expand the boundaries of the UDA and the sewer water service area for a little over 26 acres of land to allow for commercial and residential. Now, the properties are located on the southern side of Fairfax Pike, Route 277 in the OPEC and Magisterial District. If I can direct you to the screen on your left, just for reference purposes, we have 277 and 522. The subject properties are outlined in black here and here. And then you have the Lake Frederick property, which is the area in brown. That's one of the undeveloped portions of that property. Now, parcel 96A is currently zoned RA, and parcel 95 is split zoned MH1, which is the mobile home community, and RA. Now, the mobile home community currently consists of the Sandy's mobile home community. Now, the Southern Frederick Land Use Plan currently shows a designation for this area, including these parcels, as a future neighborhood village, with another portion of parcel 95 with a future industrial. Just show on the map, you have this land use adjacent to the Lake Frederick development as a neighborhood center, and then the remainder of that piece in the back, which is slated to be future industrial as part of the bulk of the other industrial plans. Now, from the comp plan text, the Lake Frederick Neighborhood Village serves as a focal point to the 277 Triangle Centers of Economy and as a gateway feature for the Shenandoah Lake Frederick community, and on a broader scale, a gateway feature for Frederick County and the citizens as they approach the county from the east. Now, this neighborhood village should promote a strong, positive community image. Residential land uses would be permitted only as an accessory component of the neighborhood village commercial land uses. Now, that's current text within the Southern Frederick Area Plan. And this is the overall plan, just as you can see the broader area. You have the Lake Frederick development, which is this area, 277, 522, and those subject properties are in this area here. Not very pretty, sorry. So we did receive a comment from Frederick Water. Out of just a snippet from that memo is that the FCSA does not support further study of the site without consideration of a much larger study area that could collectively contribute to infrastructure improvements to convey the study area sewage directly to the Parkins Mill wastewater treatment plant. And then following that comment, the Comprehensive Plans and Programs Committee discussed this at their July meeting. And the CPPC was supported further study of the land use for the larger area, as well as a study for the water and sewer improvements that would be necessary to serve that larger area. So with that, this request, as I stated earlier, will be further discussed at a joint work session with the Planning Commission and the Board in September. With that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mrs. Perkins? Yes. Mr. Oates?
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Okay, great.
Candace, where do they get their water from now?
Currently, that property does not have public water and sewer.
I know it's got its own sewer system, but do they use county water or do they use wells?
I believe it does have, the park does have water currently.
It does. County water or Frederick water.
Madam Chairman, there's a line that runs down to the old Camp 7 in Clark County that runs along 277 in that location.
Anyone else? Yes, sir, Mr. Oates.
On the map, the overview map you had up there a few minutes ago, we have on our iPads. There's a double circle up there to the left. Is that signifying a roundabout or?
Yeah, that generally signifies that there's a major intersection that will occur in that general location. That is 277 Fairfax Pike, and that is the start of the South Frederick Parkway, the comprehensive plan road in that location. Those roads come together at the northern entrance to Lake Frederick, and so some form of intersection will be in that location. That identifies the intersection. The plan itself, as do most of our plans, call for roundabouts as the preferred intersection alternative.
With the increased traffic, if this goes commercial, have we had any comments from VDOT or transportation about what transportation improvements may be needed with this?
At this time, we haven't. Simply, that would happen after, if the board chooses to send it forward for further study. At that point, we would then go out and seek additional comments about possible other things that might be needed with transportation. Because really, the board action would be to send it forward for further study or not. So we would determine all that if they choose it to send it forward.
But as a way of history, of course, the comprehensive plan, when that was changed, was reviewed and endorsed by VDOT.
Yeah, we got a plan that's about 12 years old now.
Actually, it was updated in the 2013 range, I believe.
That's pretty recent.
14, yeah, it was adopted in 14.
All right. Yeah, personally, I think if we were to study this, it'd have to be the entire area, since this is the outer limits of the sewer, because it cannot be served by Lake Frederick. It has to flow all the way to Parker's Mill.
Candace, if this does go through, and I agree with Gary that we have to take a broader area, will they be adding additional trailers and all to this, or is this just for commercial aspects of it, or?
No, they're looking for more of a commercial, accessory residential.
Okay.
They're looking for future redevelopment, potential.
Explain that, please.
The catalyst, from talking with the applicant, is really redevelopment of the front site to begin with for some expanded commercial opportunities. And then what would come after would possibly be residential over commercial. It's not really to promote the expansion of what's currently there.
Okay.
I just want to tack on to Gary's comment. I agree that this study for the individual parcel, if you will, doesn't, I think, on its own interest me, but the larger area does, and that fundamentally it's a question of or is it time, or are we ready to include this area within the sewer and water service area in particular, and kind of get those wheels turning, knowing that, it is an area designated for future economic development activity. So it may be that, we're not at that point yet. That may be the conclusion that we reach, but I think that's really I don't want to speak for the committee, but I think that was more of the interest, is that it's worth asking the question and seeing what the issues might be.
Yes, Mr. Thomas.
I agree with the comments. I wouldn't be interested in just studying this one single request. I would want to look at that whole area, because I think that whole area is prime for more development, more intensive development that's already there. And I think we probably need to look at whether that's going to be acceptable or not, and how we're going to serve that if it does occur.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yes, I would have to also agree with pretty much what everybody said. One thing I didn't think about, though, we don't have a sewer line near that place, and you'd have to almost look at the whole area And as Gary said, if it has to go to Parker's Mill, quite a bit of pipe got to be laid. I would have thought it would have went to Lake Frederick, but that's also quite a bit of pipe would have to be laid. It's not close to anything at this point that I can see. So I think we need to study the whole area if we're going to look at it.
I have a minor question. Did you, by any chance, get from the applicant, what is the existing capacity that's left and what their treatment situation is?
He did forward that to me. I don't have that really, the numbers, but I can get that to you.
Ask that,
I'll forward that with the work session agenda.
anything else, folks, to mention to Candace? All right, thank you very much. We are approaching the end of our agenda here. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Yes, if I may, if I could follow up on what Candice was mentioning. When we talk about a work session with the Board of Supervisors, of course, historically we've had a Planning Commission retreat and a certain part of the year, and then we've rolled that into a joint work session with the Board of Supervisors around about this time of the year as we deal with these comp plan amendments. So preliminarily, we're scheduling a joint work session with the Board of Supervisors for the Planning Commission prior to the Board of Supervisors September the 13th meeting. So that's, it's about 5 or 6 weeks out. And at that meeting, at that work session, it gives us, the Planning Commission, an opportunity to sit down with the board, talk about this comprehensive plan amendment request, and then just have a discussion about several other ongoing planning items. It's a good chance as we hopefully take advantage of getting the two bodies together, as we have done historically, to be on the same page as we continue to move forward. So anticipate that information will be coming out about a joint work session with the Board of Supervisors, and hopefully it will be prior to their September 13th Board of Supervisors meeting.
Thank you very much. Also, are we meeting?
We have no items for the next Planning Commission meeting, so therefore we are able to cancel the next Planning Commission meeting.
Right, so we'll need to do that. Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. We're at the end of our agenda, and in some ways it's kind of sad for us because Chuck Dunlap and his wife Nancy are moving to South Carolina. This is his second stop on his retirement, I think. And I just want to thank him, Chuck, for what he's meant to us. And it's been very splendid to have you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. It's the last 4.5 years have been really a lot of fun. It's been very interesting, and I want to thank each and all the members here of the commissions. Every time I seem to have a question, they would steer me in the right direction, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have served my fellow citizens in the Red Bud District, and thanks for the confidence that Blaine has had in me to continue serving. So you all will be missed.
Well, so will you, sir. Godspeed to both of you. I think that's it.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor? All opposed.
You came a long way to say.